and welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Morgan and you are on my homestead here in Wyoming, where we do a lot of gardening, cooking, and we have some crazy animals as well. So today we are going to go ahead and make some appetizers. I'm excited for all of these because they are things that are really easy to make ahead of time, so we can prep these appetizers, have them whenever we need them, and the best part is none of them require you to heat up your house. It's almost summer, which means I am always in the mood for like light and cold and healthy type of appetizers. And also I don't want to heat up my house, meaning turning on the oven, because it makes my house even hotter than it already is. So I like to do things that either are done on the Traeger or are things that don't require any cooking. So today we are going to make a chocolate hummus, the absolute best salmon dip I have ever had, and also some green goddess dip. So this is something that's just like so light and it's super easy. A lot of the things will be coming out of your garden if you have one, so this will make it super easy. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get our salmon brining, and then we'll get that on the smoker while we make the rest of the appetizers. All right, first thing we're gonna get started on is our salmon dip. So for this, we need to brine our fish for a couple of hours. If you want, it's a lot easier to just buy pre-smoked salmon, but I'm gonna go ahead and smoke our own just because we already had some in the freezer. So to this, I have 2 cups of water, and this is just warm water because I need it to help sugars to disintegrate. So this is a 1/2 cup of honey. I'm just using agave though, because that's what I have. Pour that in, and if you don't know the trick, if you spray your measuring cup with spray before you use it, the honey and everything will just slide right out. Then I need 1/4 cup of just salt, and I'm all out of my Redmond's real salt. I have more on its way, but I'm just using up what we have. 1/4 cup of that. And remember, this is a brine, so they're sugary and they're pretty salty. And then 1/4 cup of brown sugar, and I'm just gonna eyeball that portion. We'll call that good. And then I'm just going to mix that until the sugars are dissolved. All right, now I'm just going to take my salmon and put it down in the brine. And I'm gonna lay, it's still a little frozen, that's okay. I'm gonna lay all of them down. Okay, that is perfect. And in reality, you just wanna make sure they're all totally covered. I'm gonna put this in, and I guess if this isn't enough brine, go ahead and double the recipe for all of your salmon. I'm gonna go ahead and put this in the fridge and let this brine with a lid on it for about 4 hours. All right, our salmon has been brining for about 4.5 hours. What you wanna do is go ahead and just, I would recommend using paper towels for this because it's salmon and it's kind of smelly. I'm just going to lay these out on the paper towel. Doesn't really matter which way. And if you were making the salmon and you had time, you would actually want to dry this off and then let this sit in the fridge for another 2 or so hours. And that'll kind of make that crust on top, dry it out a little bit, and then when you smoke it, it'll be nice and crusty. But because I'm gonna be putting this salmon into a dip, which you could also just do smoked salmon with some cream cheese and capers, that would be phenomenal. But I'm actually going to put this into a dip, so I don't really care if it's if it has that like layer of crispy skin. I actually want it to be creamy, so I'm gonna skip that step. And then we're just going to pat the salmon as dry as we can on all of the sides. And then I'm just gonna let this sit, and I'm gonna get the Traeger ready. Here we just have brown sugar mixed with water, and I'm just going to put this on top of the salmon, and then every hour or every 45 or so minutes, we'll just keep brushing this on top. And the salmon will probably cook for about an hour and a half to 2 hours. You want it to be 145 degrees as the internal temperature. So I'm just gonna keep coming out here and checking on it as we get to cooking our other appetizers. So let's jump in, and I think we're gonna start making our green goddess. All right, friends, so we are getting going on the green goddess dip, and for that I'm just preparing the parsley here. We need a half a cup of parsley, and I'm actually cutting off the stems, and the reason being is sometimes they can get like a little bit stringy, and since this is going to be a dip, we want to make sure that we're putting our best foot forward and providing all the best parts. I will be giving all of this to the chickens, and it's all super good for them, so I don't really worry too much about wasting that just because it's so good for the chickens. So I'm just getting rid of those stems. I've put in 2 green onions, and we will be washing all of this together, so I'm not super worried about that. Again, I'm gonna cut off the stems of the mint, just for the same reason. And then those leaves aren't looking great, so those will go to the chickens, along with these few leaves. I need a half a cup of dill, and I am so excited for gardening season when we are actually able to grow all of these things. We're just not quite there yet. And then I'm just gonna cut off the stem there where there isn't any. Dill is less of like a worry. It gets less stringy, but since it's easy, I'm just going to cut off the big pieces of stem. Love dill. So you want about a half cup. I'm not measuring because why would I? I just feel like herbs are herbs, like it's not that big of a deal. We want 1/3 of a cup of basil, so I'm gonna take, basil is one of those things you actually want to keep trimming it back and it will grow better, so the more you trim basil, the more basil you get. And then I'm gonna leave this to keep growing. And then again, we don't love the stems, so I'm just gonna take a minute to pull those out where it's easy. And then the rest will go to the chickens. Okay, here's all of my herbs. So in here we have a half a cup of parsley, half a cup of dill, half cup of mint, 2 green onions, and then 1/3 of a cup of basil. So I'm gonna get this all washed up. We have our washed herbs here, and I've gone ahead and dried them pretty well. So I'm gonna stick those in the food processor with the cutting blade at the bottom. I will say washing these, it is like, oh, it just smells like summer. It smells so, so good. Then we're gonna add in 1.5 tablespoons of lemon juice. Perfect. And then just 1 pinch of salt. And then we're gonna put the lid on and give this a good pulse until it's pretty much all ground up. All right, now while the food processor is running, I'm gonna add in a half a cup of olive oil. All right, then we're gonna add in a half a cup of just plain Greek yogurt. This could be homemade yogurt, whatever you have. And I'm going to use that to scrape down the sides as well. And then a half a cup of crumbled feta, or just a block of feta is fine because it's going to go in here and crumble, so no problem. Perfect. And then to make it just a little bit creamier, I'm going to add in just about 1/8 of a cup of mayonnaise. Mayonnaise is totally optional, but I just like it to be really creamy. All right, we're gonna give that a blend. And then scrape down the sides. Give that one more blend. That's it. I'm gonna grab the spoon out of the feta. Just give it a quick taste. Oh, it's so good, so fresh. I think I'm gonna give it one more pinch of salt. And that's it. Gonna give that a quick mix. And our green goddess is done. All right, then to store it, I'm just going to take this out. And then I'm just gonna store it in here. All right, just like that, our first appetizer is done. You can serve this with carrots, cucumbers, pita chips, crackers, whatever you want. I prefer it on vegetables though. All right, you guys, when I say this next recipe is even easier, I don't know that you're gonna believe me. All right, what we need for this one is 1 can or so of black beans. You could also use chickpeas, cannellini beans, whatever the heck kind of beans you have. And then you would want 2 teaspoons of vanilla, but my vanilla is currently making itself. So I'm gonna put in about a tablespoon of vanilla sugar that we had made together. And then along with that, 1/3 cup of whatever oil you want. I'm using coconut oil, and it's melted like 90% of the way. Then we want 3.5 tablespoons of dark chocolate or cocoa powder. And I'm just using the Hershey's dark cocoa. 3.5 or so tablespoons. Again, doesn't have to be perfect. So there's 1. And 1/2. That looks perfect. Here's a question for you. I've heard a lot of people saying cacao nibs or cacao powder. Is cacao and cocoa different? I don't know. But for this recipe, you want Hershey's cocoa powder. So let me know down in the comments if you know if cacao and cocoa are different or if people are just saying it differently. I don't know. All right, then you want 1/2 cup of sweetener of your choice. I'm just using agave because that's what I have. And this is probably a little bit less than 1/2 cup, but since I did add in that sugar, the vanilla sugar, that's perfect. And 1/4 teaspoon of salt just to balance out that sweetness. Lid on. We're gonna pulse this until it's smooth. It would help if I locked it. And at this point, you want to try it. I will be adding in chocolate chips, which will amp up the sweetness a little bit. Good. I'm going to add in a little bit more cocoa powder. Give that a mix. All right, I'm going to give that another taste test. Perfect. Yep, that's right where I want it. And then I'm going to just add in a little bit of chocolate chips just to give us like a little bit of a crunch. Give that a quick pulse. Into the fridge this is gonna go. All right, next we are going to just get our veggies prepped. So what I like to do is just make little cucumber slices just to make them go a little bit further. I really enjoy the mini cucumbers. I think they're kind of a fun little flair. And then I just make little sticks out of them. And this will be for the green goddess dip. Perfect. Then we also have some strawberries. I'm gonna leave them whole just because then I think when you can like grab the stem, they're a lot easier for dipping. And then I'm gonna cut up and peel some carrots as well. If these were carrots from the garden, I wouldn't peel them, but since they're from the store, I'm gonna go ahead and just peel them. And the carrots are kind of like the center of attention, so I want them to look nice and pretty. And then I'm just going to make little matchsticks. just like so, just so it's really quick and easy. You can dip it in. I like to promote no double dipping, so I like to do small enough pieces that you probably will only want, or you can just dip once. These are all things you want to think about when you are preparing your food. So I'm gonna get these all cut up and then put away, and literally these two appetizers took 20 minutes and they are done, ready to go. All you would need to do is just lay them out on a plate and you're ready to serve. The salmon dip is about an hour away. Those salmon is still smoking, so as soon as that is done, I will take that out and I will show you the next step. All right, we are gonna go ahead and get started on that salmon dip. So first thing I'm gonna do is just soften a block of cream cheese. You want it to get almost to like a runny point, so go ahead and just put this in the microwave on some intervals. Just keep an eye on it, and you'll just want to take it out when it's nice and soft. I'm going to set my softened cream cheese off to the side, and then we are going to peel the skin off of our salmon. And you can save this. This is really good fats for your chickens or dog, yourself if you like it. And then we're just going to shred it into the bowl. And I'm going to repeat this with all of the fillets. And I am the worst at judging size of bowls, so we might be able to serve it in this bowl, but I think to mix everything, we're going to need a larger bowl. So I'm going to transfer this all over, and then we're just going to start combining this. Then you're going to go ahead and add 1 cup of sour cream and 1 cup of mayonnaise, and then however much spice you want. Traditionally we use Tabasco for this, but I only had Cholula today, so I used about 1 teaspoon of Cholula. As long as it's a tomato-based hot sauce, it's gonna taste great. Then you'll go ahead and give that a mix. You can see here Sam was giving it a taste test and a try, and it passed. This is one of our absolute favorites. We found it from a friend, and it has been an absolute hit everywhere we go. So I definitely recommend you giving it a try. Then we just add in some green onions, stir it in, and we're done. All right, that is it. We have our salmon dip, our chocolate hummus, and our Greek goddess dips. So the Greek goddess dip, like I mentioned, you want to do with like vegetables or pita chips. The chocolate hummus we really like with strawberries or fruit, and also cinnamon sugar graham crackers is really good. And then the salmon dip we're just going to eat on crackers, but you can eat it on whatever you want. I hope today's video inspired you to make some quick and easy appetizers or snacks for your family. If you liked today's video, please consider giving it a thumbs up and subscribing, and I will catch you all in the next one. Bye, friend.